Don't be afraid to go out and feel awkward when you're doing something. Awkwardness is an indication of learning. Everyone out there is winging it. We're all trying to figure it out. And once we've figured it out, the human condition says, I want to get better. Those of us I want to achieve. So if you feel like that, you're doing the right thing.
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
Welcome to the Dream Big and Think Different podcast, where we inspire, impact, and empower.
Progress is impossible if you always do things the way you have always done things.
It's time to dream big. Here's your host, Dr. Sachin Maskey.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Dream Big and Think Different podcast, where our mission is to inspire, impact, and empower millions of people. I'm your host, Dr. Sachin Maskey, and today we have a very, very special guest and another dreamer, Gino Barbaro, all the way from Florida, has a very inspiring and impactful story we all need to hear and learn. I'm very honored and thrilled to have Gino in our show. Again, good morning, everyone, and Gino, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Sachin. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day here in Massachusetts. I'm excited for the day today, and I'm very, very happy that we are able to connect and hopefully we can, give some, our thoughts and, help other people to get inspired. Again, thank you for your time, and let's get started. Today, we're going to just focus on a couple of things. I would like to talk about Gino's real estate, and we're going to talk about also dual asset strategy that I personally very, very fond of, and he has been doing this for a long time. So again, I would like to start with his short bio. All right, so Gino Barbaro is investor, business owner, author, and entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, he has grown his real estate portfolio to over 2,000 multifamily units and has over 280 million assets under management. Gino and his partner Jake are teaching others to how to do the same through their Jake and Gino, the premier multifamily real estate education community. Their students have closed to about 71,000 units and have 4 billion in deal volume. Gino is the best-selling author of 3 books, Wheelbarrow Profits, The Honeybee, and Family Food and Furs. He currently resides in St. Augustine, Florida, with his beautiful wife, Julia, and their 6 children. Again, welcome to the show, Gino, and I would like to start with my first question. Who is the Gino and why he is in this world?
That is a powerful question for your very first question. I like the impact, inspire, and empower. Hope we can do that on this podcast. Gino was put on here as a creature of God. I think God put me here for a mission, and really to give glory and all grace to Him, and all the work that I've done. I've tried to lead a great life. I've got a family. I've got 6 kids. I'm trying to get my kids to heaven. That's what really my ultimate goal is to get my children and myself to heaven. And by doing that, every action that I take going forward is really trying to be an inspiration and to be that role model for my children, to show my children that you can do good in this world. You can be a good person and still make a lot of money and still make impact. When you look around, it always seems the saying is good guy finishes last. That's not true. I mean, that is so false. You can still have morals. You can still have ethics. You can still do the right thing and finish, quote unquote, first, whatever that looks like, creating those win-win situations. So for me, I think I've been put on this earth really to teach others ultimately how to be a good father, at least try to be a good father, how to raise a great family, and how to try to be a leader in that family and try to be a leader in the community.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I really truly believe that absolutely when you have a dream and when you want to do good things, and a lot of people around surrounded by you gonna uplift you and help you get better, and I truly believe in that. Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to basically go back to your childhood and your roots and your upbringing. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Sure. Both of my parents were immigrants from Italy. I grew up in a household where my dad, when I was 7 years old, opened the restaurant. And at 7 years of age, I would go on the weekends, I would go to work with him. And I loved it. I remember sitting in the restaurant, in the kitchen, preparing food with him, cleaning the floors, using the fryer, actually cooking at 7 years of age. And I fell in love with working with my dad and
Wow.
just working in the kitchen. And that carried on all to my teenage years. I went to college, but with always the background that I wanted to open my own restaurant, open my own business. And I went to college, graduated, and then got out, worked for AIG back in the early 90s, an insurance company, and I hated it. Worked there for a year, and I quit after a year. And in 1994, we opened the restaurant. Me, my dad, my brother, and my mom. It was a small little restaurant, and Sasha, I loved it for years. 2007 comes, and the Great Recession comes. My father passes away, and I don't really like the restaurant anymore. I'm working harder. I'm making less. Everything changed. Uber's delivering. We have to start delivering. Margins go down.
Right.
People are eating out less, and
Yep.
I just fell out of love with the restaurant. And that's when I started looking into real estate. I got that real estate bug. And there's one book that changed my life back in 2008. It was by T. Harv Eker. It was called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And when I read the book, I realized that I was blaming everybody else. There was no responsibility on my part. People were
Right.
still millionaires in 2008. I wasn't one of them. Why were they a millionaire and why wasn't I one? What was I not doing? And I think the one word that came into my life was responsibility. You need to be responsible for your life. You can't be a victim. I know bad things happen to everybody. Bad things have happened to me. But how do we play those cards? How do you get up from those troubles, and how do you proceed going forward and becoming responsible? Because if you're a victim, you don't see any opportunity. But if you have responsibility, that problem, there'll become opportunities that will come out of that problem. And once you become
Absolutely.
responsible and you think long term, you'll be able to solve a lot of the problems.
That's pretty. You nail it, man. So I really appreciate the things you're sharing, and I really think that that's very important to know. We all have challenges, we all have difficulties, but at the same time, once you don't give up and continue to persist in your dreams, I think anything can be possible. So going back to again childhood, do you have any dreams that you want to be like? Any childhood dreams?
For me, I had some limiting beliefs as a child. Growing up as an immigrant, you get to hear words that your parents are saying. It's tough being an immigrant, son of an immigrant. We don't have money. You have to save. It's always scarcity mindset. We're always saving for a rainy day. But my parents were entrepreneurial. They opened the restaurant.
Absolutely.
And we had the restaurant. We had apartments upstairs on the restaurant. And I remember saying that one day I want to own apartments, because when the restaurant's working, great. You work every week, you
Absolutely.
get paid. Some weeks you don't get paid. But
Uh-huh.
the apartments, every month, you're getting a rent check. And I think that was my dream. My dream was to get into real estate somehow. But
Uh-huh.
early on, I didn't have to, because I was doing well with the restaurant and I was singularly focused on the family and the restaurant. And until that problem came in 2007, 2008 for me, that's when I said to myself, I need to do something different.
Okay. So yeah, that sounds good. So that's amazing. You had those dream, and now you're running a lot of multifamily portfolio. We're gonna go to that in a few seconds. But before that, I want to ask you, because I like to know all the entrepreneurs, self-made millionaires, and they have something that always inspires and motivates them. For you, who is that? Like who and what inspires you every day to be productive?
That's an easy question. For me, it's my wife. I mean, my wife is, I mean, she's got 6 kids to homeschool. We homeschool our kids, and
Amazing.
we've been married for 25 years, and I've never really heard her make an excuse saying, "Oh, I'm tired today. I can't do this work. I can't do that." I mean, she is a really busy person, and she never makes excuses, and she's always given me what's the word? She's always given me the support when I wanted to chase my dream of real estate. She never said, "No, we can't do that. We can't afford that." She always had a lot of faith in me, and that to me was really important. But it also put a burden on me that if she's going to give me a lot of that faith and she's going to trust me, I need to put in the work. I need to put in the hours. I need to educate myself. I need to be working 60 to 70 hours a week early on in the journey.
Absolutely.
I can't let her down. So she held me accountable by that. And I think we all need someone in our corner like that. And I was just fortunate to have my wife in my corner.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Again, thank you for sharing that. And now we're going to dive into the main topic of today. After that background, I guess I want to go back to your starting of the journey of real estate. How you got started, and how was it in the first couple of years?
My first investment was in 2005. It was with a gentleman that I like to call Maserati Mike. And the reason why I call him Maserati Mike is he drove a nice Maserati. I like it. It's gold. I'll never forget that. And I got introduced to him by a friend of mine. I invested in his deal. It was a mobile home park deal. I had no business investing in it. I didn't know anything about the business, but I had extra money. And I said, you know what? Passive income. Let me put the money into this deal and let it ride. And it was great, Sachin, for the first 6 months, getting distribution checks. Then after that, they disappeared. And 6 months later, the investment went up in flames. And I can blame the partner all I want. He was a terrible partner. But ultimately, remember in 2008, the responsibility that was part of my journey. I didn't do due diligence. I didn't know mobile home and park investing. I didn't understand what a syndication was.
Right.
And I never even flew down to the property to take a look at it. I just gave somebody my money. And I learned a really great lesson there. I lost $172,000
Ooh.
on that investment. That was painful, right? A person with money meets a person with experience. The person with the experience gets the money, and the person with the money gets the experience. And that's what happened to me. And that really inspired me to say, I love real estate. I don't want to give up. This was not real estate as being risky. This was Gino being risky because I didn't know how to proceed and invest in real estate. I quickly thereafter jumped into mentorships. I started learning about real estate, and I was drawn to multifamily because my parents had a couple of, they had a duplex, they had the restaurant, they had another 4-unit. So I was naturally drawn to multifamily because I always thought to myself, it's a basic human need. People need a place to live. So I learned about multifamily from that one big mistake. Remember, if I wasn't in that victim mindset and I would have said to myself, well, Maserati Mike, he made me lose the money. It's all his fault. Instead, once I shifted to responsibility, I learned from that huge problem. That was a lot of money for me back then. And that problem could have sunk me. But I looked at it and said, what's the opportunity here? The opportunity is that I know now how to vet a partner. That's when I met Jake. I knew Jake was the right partner for me. I know that real estate's the right vehicle. I just have to understand how to invest in that vehicle. So a lot of problems out of that first investment, but I looked at it and I looked at the opportunities, and I took those opportunities and I started investing in multifamily from that opportunity.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing story. And again, and that's a beautiful story to people to know that the challenges can happen. And again, you can overcome the challenge as long as you don't give up. And you did that same thing. You went to the mentorship that you just mentioned. I agree with that. And so going fast forward now, I guess, you guys have this company called Jake and Gino, which is a multifamily education company. I would like to, and I also wanted to know about your partner Jake, which is the major part of this company. I would say. How you scale your portfolio to now where you are?
We actually did it rather slowly, and we didn't use any syndication. It was all capital that we invested, and we refinanced these deals. We refinanced over 20. Yeah, we've had 3 syndications, but the vast majority of our portfolio has been refinancing the portfolio out and reinvesting the money into the next deal. We've refinanced over $20 million from the portfolio. We started back in 2013 with a 25-unit property, and it took us 18 months to find that first deal, Jake and myself. And from
18 months.
18 months, because Jake had moved down from Knoxville, from New York to Knoxville, and he moved down. We started looking for deals. And then all of a sudden, his fiance moves down to Knoxville, and they need to buy a house. So we stopped looking for a few months. But I always knew that I needed to do something because back then I've got 6 kids. Everyone's telling me college is expensive, retirement's expensive. I'm just looking to buy a couple of deals for passive income to start the journey. And I know the power of real estate. And I said to Jake, when you're settled, let's start again. So that first deal, it probably would have taken a little less than a year, but like I said, we stopped. And then after that first deal, the second deal came about, a 36-unit property 3 months later. But I think the thing that Jake and I did best was we found our partner Mike. And our partner Mike lives up in Connecticut. He was the balance sheet person. He was the strong net worth person. He was able for us to start qualifying for these loans. But how do you find somebody like a Mike? You have to provide value to somebody like a Mike or somebody in that position. And we were able to provide the value because we had the vehicle. We understood, real estate and how to position multifamily. Mike was buying homes up in the Northeast for $2 million, single family homes, and he was getting $10,000 a month in rent. I said, Mike, here's an $800,000 asset that we're going to be getting $11,000 a month. It doesn't take a genius to understand 2 million, 10,000, 850, 11,000. And by the way, they had $850,000 asset. Income can go to 18,000 a month. And oh, by the way, we've already have a property. We're already proving the process. So I think two of the things that really separated myself and the reason why I'm able to speak to you today is finding an amazing partner like Jake. And the second one is finding someone like Mike initially early on who helped us scale up, who actually on our third deal, it was a $4 million deal. He actually lent the company $500,000 as a down payment so he wouldn't dilute our equity. So he gave us more equity in the deal. When we refinanced the deal, we were able to pay back his down payment because he saw the value. And ever since then, it's just been me, Jake, and Mike on this journey. Mike's continuing to invest, and he's pretty passive right now. But early on, huge mentor for me about business, about systems, about scaling. Go out and find a Mike. Go out and find somebody that can help you scale and grow. And if that's not the case, syndication is a tool. If you don't find a Mike, go out and find limited partners who can invest in your deal.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that too. Capital and the team, right? Those are two major aspects of a lot of business. So you had a team with your partner, Jake, and the capital was, I guess, Mike. So I think that's a great thing. So let's talk about some of the questions I have for you in regards to multifamily. You talk about 3-STEM framework. Can you explain that a little bit more about that?
Well, one day Jake was sitting out in his grass, and he loves to cut grass. He loves to use a chainsaw, and he sees a wheelbarrow sitting there, and the wheelbarrow is tilted. And he's like, "Oh, Wheelbarrow Profits, wheelbarrow, three-step framework. The wheelbarrow's got 3 legs. It's got the back leg, which is the buy right. It's fixed. The other leg is finance right. That's fixed. And now the middle, the wheel of the wheelbarrow is manage right. That's in constant motion. Now, when you're buying a deal, you want to buy it right, and you want to finance it right. Once you've done those two, they're off the table. And now the manage right is in constant motion. Now, you either have to manage the deal yourself or you have to have third-party property management. And I think people don't understand that. I think real estate as a whole, I'm going to talk specifically multifamily, it's an entrepreneurial adventure. We create multifamily entrepreneurs at Jake and Gino because you have to know systems. And it's ironic now that we've been teaching this for the last 10 years that people are having trouble with financing. I just saw someone in Toledo, Ohio with a deal that their financing is terrible. All of a sudden, the notes are getting called back. They didn't have long-term fixed rate financing. They may have bought it right. They may be managing it right. But guess what? All of a sudden, your bridge debt went from 3% to 9%. You didn't finance it right. What happens? The wheelbarrow tips over. So you need to focus on those 3 pillars of real estate. And I'll take it one step further. One step further, we've created the 3 pillars of real estate, not to confuse the framework. So you've got buy right, manage right, and that wheel, which is constantly working, which is the manage right. You have market cycle, you have debt, and you have exit strategy. Those are the 3 pillars, and I'll go through them really quick. When you're looking at a deal in real estate, in any kind of real estate, whether it's a self-storage, multifamily, single family, what is your exit strategy? Are you going to buy this deal forever, which is what we like to do? But every now and again, we're selling a 4-unit right now, so we're exiting it. If you don't understand your exit strategy, then you cannot get the debt. What kind of debt are you going to get? I mean, are you going to get short-term debt? Are you going to get bridge debt? Are you going to get Fannie and Freddie, community, credit union, whatever that looks like? I don't know what that looks like for you. But for us, we like to go with community bank on the front end and then refinance out. We like loan to cost. We don't like these bridge products, especially last year and the year before. We knew rates were going to go up. So we didn't like that type of debt. Our exit strategy is long-term, but we can always pivot if we want to sell, right? That's important.
Absolutely.
But market cycle is so important, and people don't understand this. I want everyone to write this down. You can always buy real estate, and we've proven that. We've bought an average of 2 to 3 deals a year, even through the pandemic, even this year. We're on our 3rd deal this year, right? We're at almost 300 units. You cannot always sell real estate. So understand that. real estate does go up for the long term, but if you get caught in a down cycle and you have short-term debt that comes due and you can't refi or you can't sell, you're going to give the keys back. So understand that. Understand where you are in the market cycle. Jake and I started out in 2010, 11. It was a buyer's market. There was no money. There was a ton of deals. There was no consumer sentiment. And everyone said, that's the time to buy. Well, that's the time when everyone's running to the exits like they are right now. Everyone's scared right now. The market cycle now is shifting. As you're going through the market cycle from the buyer cycle and things are going up, prices are going up, the properties that are older, the C properties, all of a sudden get more expensive relative to the B properties. So be very careful. We've shifted our buy right criteria to buying newer assets because they're pretty much similar in line with what older properties are worth. These older properties, if you're going to buy them for a long time, remember the exit strategy, you've got to make sure that these old properties are taken care of. You're fixing the plumbing, the roofs, the driveways, the AC. Once you do that, if you buy that property right, that's okay. Just hold it. But understanding where you are in the market cycle will help you understand what kind of assets you're looking for. Old, new, price points. Couple that with the exit strategy, and then you can figure out what the debt is. Then you can create your buy right criteria and understand what the finance right looks like and the manage right. Put them all together. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I really I think there's a very key things you have just mentioned. It's absolutely important to, and any business, I think this applies to not only real estate, but I mean, particularly real estate because we have leverage. That is the key difference. And the tax, and I think we should also mention that about the difference between other asset classes. But you're right. Absolutely. If that finance is the key, the leverage you get in real estate, you can finance up to 80, 90% sometimes, but thank you for sharing.
Talk about that for a second, Sasha. It's important. You can use the framework for anything. If you're buying a business, I mean, what is the exit strategy? You're trying to build this business, take yourself out of it and have some type of intrinsic value so you can actually sell it, even if you don't want to sell it. Like the restaurant. That's why I failed at the restaurant because I never saw it as a business. I saw it more as a paycheck. I started the restaurant to support my family. I didn't start the restaurant in my mind to support my customers. When you're starting a multifamily, you're starting a venture, you're starting a business, you're trying to provide solutions, you're trying to solve problems for your customer. I was doing the reverse, and that's what most of us do. Most of us get into real estate because it's all about us. I need money. But if you're going to get into real estate and you're going to start raising capital or you're going to start taking money from other people, well, there's two people you need to serve. You need to serve your residents, which is your tenants, and you need to serve your investors. If you do those two well, money will flow and you will be incredibly successful.
Absolutely. That's another important thing. I think you have, just responded, but that's amazing, man. So, let's talk about I'm shifting a gear about, I know the real estate is part of everything, but I think you have a Jake and Gino company. I just need to know the listener or whoever is watching this to learn more about Jake and Gino company, what you guys do on that education part so that, they can get involved and all that.
Just go to jakeandgino.com. Everything's there. I do weekly podcasts. I actually have a podcast with my wife as well.
Really?
Yeah, it's called the Julie and Gino Show, and we've interviewed Dr. Gary Chapman. We've interviewed a whole slew of different personal development people because for us it's about family and communication. And Sasha, what's really interesting when you're growing your family, it's so similar to growing a business. You have a mission statement. You have core values, right? You have accountability. You have
your baby.
It is. It's very similar. The skills are really similar. So we find that, when you're working with your spouse, because I work with my spouse as well, to me, people say, how can you work with your wife? I say to themselves, how can I not work with my wife? My business is so important to me. I love to work with her. Is it easy? No, actually, she was actually criticizing me yesterday about my company. And that's painful. That's hard. But at the same time, I'm sharing such an important part of my life with her that I want other entrepreneurs to see how amazing having kids and how amazing working with your spouses. So just go to jakeandgino.com. You learn more about the company.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I guess that's very interesting. And I wish I can do with my wife too. She's a dentist and I'm trying to get her involved in real estate. And, hopefully one day I will be able to do that. But she's getting, kind of.
I think what happened, Shashin, with me and my wife when we started working, I always had the idea of I want financial freedom. And my wife didn't understand that. I didn't paint the picture for her because she was satisfied with money. She doesn't really need to earn more money. But when I said to her, Julia, we can move down to Florida. We can have your mom live next door. I can pay for your mother for certain things. I can pay for certain other ventures. We can go to Italy and I don't have to stress about money. All of a sudden she understood and she said, okay, now I get it. What do we need to do? And I think most of us just assume the other side. Your wife probably doesn't care about numbers. You have to explain to her what real estate can do for the family, what kind of legacy real estate can lead, how to create wealth through real estate and actually being able to leave that asset for the future generations, how not saving for retirement is so inefficient, but you're saving to buy that asset. That asset will pay for the event. And when that event is over, you still have that asset. I'll give you a quick example. On our on our very first deal, I mean, you can use this example with your wife. We bought that 25-unit property. We still own that asset today. From 25 units, it's producing between $8,000 and $9,000 a month in cash flow every single month, and it has for the last 4 to 5 years.
Wow.
Our children, I've got my third child going through college. That one asset has paid for the first 2 children, and it's going to pay hopefully for the next 3 for the rest of my children. From one asset. If I had invested and put $100,000 into the bank, it would have been gone with the first child. But that
with inflation.
that monthly cash flow every month. I can use it, right? And then when my kids are out of college and they're done, I still have that asset producing cash flow. If I want to sell it, I can sell it. If not, I can continue to have that asset producing money for me. Because at the end of life, when we retire, we don't have a net worth problem. We have a cash flow problem. And real estate can solve that cash flow problem by producing yield every single month for you.
Yeah. Totally agree. Passive income, is the key. And that's what what I'm doing. I'm still practicing as a medicine, but I definitely focus on the cash flow, and the real estate is one of the vehicles. So totally agree. Thank you for, again, sharing that and appreciate that. I wanted to switch a little bit gear about what I have actually heard one of your podcasts a long time back. I remember you guys talk about dual asset strategy. And I think that's also very, very key part of my wealth, what I've done. And I wanted to hear from you, what is that and how you utilize that for your wealth building,
Sachin, success leaves clues. I wanted to get wealthy. Well, what were the wealthy doing? To me, the wealthy are investing in 3 things. They're putting their money into businesses. They're putting their money into real estate. And they're putting their money into whole life. Now, whole life is not an investment. It's an asset. But those 3 asset classes I've interviewed dozens of entrepreneurs, thought leaders who have 8-figure net worths and beyond. And every single one of them has whole life. So I had to scratch my head. I had to say to myself, well, why whole life? It is one of the best vehicles that has so many different benefits. It's a living benefit. And it's a death benefit. I had my first policy back in 2001, and I still have that policy, paying $5,000 every year into it. I'm generating now, it's over $10,000 that is returning to me because it's been so long. I have whole life policies on all 6 of my kids. I feel it's so
that's
powerful.
Another important thing.
I mean, but most people think, oh, well, it's not for the death benefit. Although if something ever happens to them, they get sick and they don't qualify, they still have some type of death benefit. To me, it's a savings vehicle. I'm putting money into that vehicle. It's guaranteed. It's a non-correlated asset. I don't care what happens in the stock market. For me as a real estate investor, I need opportunity cost. I had a 401k. I couldn't touch it. But the money in the whole life that was
literally
cash value, exactly. I was able to borrow that money out, go buy real estate. Once the real estate produces cash flow, I'm going to go back and pay the loan because what happens is there's interrupted compounding. There's a cost to that money. I need to borrow that money out at a cost, but I'm still making money on the back end. So it's pretty much neutral. So as I'm making money in the real estate, I'm going to pay that loan off. Once the loan is paid off, guess what? Dual assets. I have the real estate and I have the whole life policy.
Absolutely.
I mean, think about it. If you're a trucker in Canada and you get back in the pandemic and you get your bank account frozen, guess what? Whole life is a whole different thing. It's off the balance sheet. There's protections, there's guarantees. It's non-correlated. There's opportunity costs. Oh, and at the end of your lifetime, if you're a real estate investor and you're a liquid, there is a death benefit that's attached to that. So there are so many benefits to it. And when people say, hey, it only produces 4%, we're not taught in this lifetime that every dollar needs to be at risk. That's the problem with, financial planners. They're always modeling to what's the yield. Well, for me, what's the opportunity cost? We're closing on a 96 unit deal in the next 60 days. I need $1 million in capital. If I don't have that capital, I can't close the deal. Well, guess what? I've got capital in my whole life policies. I can borrow out of it and I can buy that deal. Once that deal is producing, I can pay it back. So don't just go out there and say to everybody, I listen to Dave Ramsey. I love term. There is a great place for term insurance, especially when you're young and you need to protect yourself. But at the very least, get term life insurance that can be convertible to whole lives. I started funneling all my 401k money out of there and putting it into whole life because I needed to use it today. I don't want to wait till 60 years old to be able to use that money. And I do not want to be in business with the government with all of these different plans they have, 529s and education and 401s. They can change the rules. Yep. And I don't want my money with any stock market. I don't want my money in any mutual funds. I want to be able to control my money. And I think that's what people who are wealthy do. They control their money. They become financially intelligent and they go invest in those 3 asset classes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think whatever you just said has actually happened to me in my real life. Because what I say is like when I was about to get some money from my 401k recently, actually, and what they told me, hey, you cannot do anything until you're 60. I mean, like I have $500,000 there, like sitting there doing nothing, and I don't know what's going to happen when I'm 60 because the tax is going to go up or go down, and most likely it's going to go up, right? So it's crazy. It's no brainer. So whole life policy, again, dual asset strategy, what Gino has mentioned is amazing strategy. If you want to learn more, I think you can reach out to them. But again, asset protection for doctors, especially people who are listening to this, it's like a 401k. Nobody can, touch your money. And also tax benefit, which is a major one we forgot to talk about. Yes. It's going to be tax-free death benefit for your kids or for your whoever beneficiary. So Sachin, I really
let me make a point here real quick because this is important for everybody to hear, and this is when my mind shifted. Do you want to pay when the seed, or do you want to pay with the harvest? I'd rather pay money on the seed because when there's the harvest, if you have $1 million in your 401k and you retire, you don't have $1 million there. You probably have between $600,000 and $700,000. People don't understand that. But if you've got money in a whole life policy, guess what? It's growing tax advantaged. You're able to borrow money out of there. And after doing this, it's not a get quick rich strategy. Getting wealthy is not getting quick rich. You're getting rich quick.
It's always long term.
It's long term. And what? So for me and Jake, we've been buying deals for the last 10 years. Is 10 years a lifetime? It's a microcosm if you live 70 or 80 years. So the same thing with whole life. Understand that you're starting a business. Think of whole life as a business. You're seeding your business. When you buy a business, you don't make money day one or year one. You have to keep reinvesting in the business. And whole life is the same way. After year 4, 5, and 6, you'll start seeing the massive benefits. And before you know it, all of a sudden, you've got cash value in there. You've got death benefits in there. You've got protections in there. So think about it. Do you want to pay your money on the seed or in the harvest? Most of us pay at the harvest. Those of us who are financially intelligent want to pay today because we know exactly what it's costing us today. Because I'm going to guarantee you taxes in the future are going to be a lot higher than they are today.
Absolutely true. Thank you for again sharing that. And before we started this podcast, I think we had a brief talk about baby money shoulder. I think I want you to take us there and explain what is that.
So the baby money soldiers, it's a pretty simple concept. Everybody has income coming in. Look at them as a baby money soldier. It is $1. Now, the way to create wealth is to understand how to utilize and how to deploy baby money soldiers.
Right.
The doctors, lawyers who are listening to this, they take the baby money soldier. They have high operating expenses. They have high luxuries. They kill the baby money soldiers. Baby money soldiers are dead.
It's called Parkinson law.
That's right. As you earn more money, you tend to spend more money on your lifestyle. Absolutely.
Exactly.
So, and that happened to me earlier on. I was making more money at the restaurant. I would spend more money on my lifestyle. And that's a natural human inclination. What I say with baby money soldiers is understand what you need to do with operating expenses. Try to limit the luxuries and try to deploy your baby money soldiers into buying deals or into buying businesses. As the businesses start growing, and all of a sudden, Jake and Gino refi a deal. On our very first deal, we refied 164,000 baby money soldiers out of that. Those baby money soldiers, we didn't kill them. They procreated. They grew. We put those into another deal. We attacked and bought another deal. And then that next deal refinanced out, and on and on and on. We didn't kill those baby money soldiers. We continued to let them grow and to procreate. But the average American, what they do is when they get a refinance, they'll go and they'll spend that money on a luxury, or they'll spend that money on something like a vacation. Don't kill your baby money soldiers early on. As you get more money, you can start enjoying it, but understand that if you continue to live with luxury and operating expenses, and you're not able to deploy them, that's why you're not going to create wealth. And one other thing about baby money soldiers, you need to have some in reserve. All of your baby money soldiers can't attack, because if they attack, what happens? You're not going to have anything in reserve when you have a credit crunch, or you need to pay a bill. Have some in reserve, and that's why we like whole life insurance. Having money in whole life insurance, is two purposes. You're having the death benefit with the estate planning. You're helping yourself out long term, but you also have money in reserve that if you do see an opportunity or a business or a deal you want to take down, you can deploy those baby money soldiers. So understanding that from that basic level, I don't think we've ever been taught this in school. We just thought, go get a job, make money, and the more money you make, the more you go up that corporate ladder. All of a sudden, you get a bigger house, bigger car. You're not creating wealth. You're creating wealth for your employer. You're not creating wealth for yourself. And the only way you create wealth for yourself is, number one, to invest in your education, to invest in yourself. Number two, start investing in hard assets and let those assets grow, and let the assets that produce the cash flow redeploy into the business. Redeploy those baby money soldiers. Let those baby money soldiers grow and procreate. And the more they grow and the more they procreate, we talk about a cash flow snowball. It starts to snowball. And then from there, you can start living off of that cash flow and continue to reinvest the rest of those proceeds.
Absolutely. Really appreciate that. Very beautiful concept, and hopefully that will help people to understand what we're talking about. So shifting gear here now again, it's been amazing. So many wonderful wisdom we've been learning from you. So Gino, I wanted to know right now, what is your dream?
This may sound crazy, but I think I'm living my dream. I'm making more than enough money. I just came home from a trip in Italy for 2 weeks with my children. I love the company. I love the company that we're working for. Jake and we're closing our third deal. We've got an amazing portfolio. I mean, my dream. Thank you. My dream, honestly, I think, is just to continue to try to impact others, try to help others with their journey. I mean, at Jake and Gino, we've helped 120 students leave their W-2 jobs. And I know how powerful that is when you are able to impact the family, how many other families that impacts. And that's what I think my goal going forward is to be able to help other students leave their jobs, or even if they love their jobs, to create wealth for themselves. So one day, Sachin may be saying to himself, I don't want to be a doctor anymore. I love it, but I just don't want to go into the office today. I've got this real estate portfolio that I can lean on for the next 6 months, for the next year, and figure it out. That's where power is. Money is all about creating autonomy for yourself. And once you have autonomy for yourself, you have more options, you have more choices. And the more options and the more choices you have, that will lead to more happiness in your life.
Absolutely. Really think that's important. And having a control in your life is important. And I think I congratulate to you, whatever you have done for yourself. You have done amazing. So thank you for sharing again. So I guess we are towards the end of our show. I wanted to know a couple of more questions. What is your biggest win in your life, and how you define success?
It's funny, now that I look back at it, the biggest win in my life is probably marrying my wife. I mean, we've been married 25 years, and she's been an inspiration. She's not on the call. I don't want her to hear this, but I mean, I look at her, and that's the reason why I work really hard, because I know she never quits. I know she never stops working, and I can't let her down. I just can't let her down. But I mean, as far as deals go, as far as real estate deals, back in 2015, we did a 281 unit deal. It was all owner financed, no money out of our pocket. We actually got $100,000 back at closing, and that deal is probably worth 3 times what we paid for it. And it's just one of those things where people say you can't do that. Learn the techniques, learn seller financing. It's coming back right now. Learn syndication. There's so many different strategies in real estate and multifamily that people don't understand. It's been powerful, but I think that has been the biggest deal of our lives, I would say. But also, like I said, just being married to my wife has been incredible.
That's amazing. So how you define success?
Success. Trying to live. Dr. Benjamin Hardy wrote a book, The Gap and the Gain. And I'm trying to live in the gain more. And I think it's all about mindset, thinking about what I've accomplished. We're always in the tunnel looking at the light, and we're never reaching the light. And it's always out there, and we can never, and when we do reach it, there's another light and there's another tunnel. I think if you're able to look back and say, wow, look what I've accomplished. I mean, I've closed 1,500 units. Our students are doing amazing. There are challenges ahead, but at least live in the gain, at least appreciate and be happy and be grateful for what you've accomplished up till now. Most of us don't give ourselves the credit for that. And I think that's part of what success is. I think success is a mindset, is a thought process of, all right,
Absolutely.
I'm where I'm supposed to be right now. I'm not where I want to go, but it's okay. So The Gap in the Game by Ben Hardy is an amazing book. And I think success is doing what you want to do, when you want to do, where you want to do, and how you want to do it. That's why we're investing in multifamily. So it gives us the optionality to be on a podcast on Friday morning, to say, hey, I can take a couple hours out of my day and pick up my kids from school. Hey, I can continue to work because I love to work, not because I have to work. That to me is what success is all about. I'll go back to that one word, autonomy. Having the autonomy to make those decisions for your life and not having an employer or having somebody over your head telling you what to do, but you have those decisions, to me, I think is what success is all about.
It's absolutely beautiful. Very, very true, and applies to me also. And that's the reason we're doing the podcast today and helping other people to get inspire, impact. Hopefully, we can empower people. Believe it or not, what was the last question of my show today? And that will be where people can find you, Gino, and what is the one thing you want to share before you leave?
Just go to jakeandgino.com. I think the one thing that I'd want to leave with people is understand what your goals are. If you're investing in any asset, understand what you want to achieve with those goals. I'm going to tell you multifamily is the best vehicle out there because I'm biased, but I love it. I love what it's done for me. I love what it's done for our students.
Absolutely.
But understand what you're trying to achieve with investing, whether it's in the stock market, whether it's in single family homes, multifamily homes, and don't be afraid to go out and feel awkward when you're doing something. Awkwardness is an indication of learning, as the great Chris Voss says. If you're not feeling awkward on a daily basis, then you're not growing. Because I look at people and I say, well, that person is amazing. I have a secret for everybody. Everyone out there is winging it. We're all trying to figure it out. And once we figure it out, the human condition says, I want to get better. For those of us, I want to achieve. So I am in a constant state of awkwardness daily because I can't figure things out. So if you feel like that, you're doing the right thing.
Absolutely. Thank you. I mean, that's amazing. Clarity, and you mentioned what you want in your life, why you want, it's important. And I think you mentioned that. And again, it's been amazing. 40 minutes we have spent time together. A lot of learning points for me, myself. Again, thank you so much for your time. Whoever is watching and listening to this podcast would appreciate if you can share and subscribe and like. And again, thank you so much, Gino, for your time today. Was amazing.
Thanks, Dr. Sachin. I appreciate it. And everybody, go out there and make it happen. I mean, you've got a great podcast. You've got a great show here. Continue to listen to Dr. Sachin's show. A lot of golden nuggets on here. I enjoyed it. Thanks again.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Dream Big and Think Different. We hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to subscribe to our show so you don't miss any gold nuggets. And we'd appreciate it if you could rate and leave us a review on iTunes, Spotify, and other platforms. Until next time.